Kenya finally launched the second phase of its most expensive infrastructure project, the standard gauge railway between Nairobi and Naivasha, yesterday. However, this step has been met by criticism. Victor Kiprop now tells us the railway stops abruptly at a remote village deep inside the Rift Valley, raising even more questions on the line's economic viability, even as the government puts on a brave face.
At its base, the standard gauge railway was fashioned as a flagship infrastructure project set to connect Kenya to the East African region. But 2 years since the colorful and promise-filled flag-off, the first phase between Nairobi and Mombasa is yet to break even, forcing the government to introduce mandatory use of the SGR to ferry cargo from the port of Mombasa, in an attempt to lift its revenues, a directive that was later lifted following demonstrations by truckers. But unlike the first phase, which connects the port city of Mombasa to the capital city of Nairobi, Phase 2A of the project does not connect to any city or major town in the country.
Mahiu, Suswa is not nowhere. This is Kenya.
Delays in development of the dry port in Naivasha, whose construction only began on Wednesday, means for the moment the project will not offer freight services, which means it will be loss-making, at least according to the government's own admission. The current location and form of Phase 2A of the railway project has raised a new wave of criticism on it being a railway to nowhere. But the president insists that this approach to development is not just about here and now.
Tuko nowhere. Na tumekuja ku launch the new Lunatic Express. But we are clear in our vision that we are going somewhere.
The 4 passenger stations, namely Ongata Rongai, Ngong, Mai Mahiu and Suswa, are kilometers away from their respective town centers, most of which lack link facilities including roads. The countries in the corridor have also expressed less interest in the project despite the government's incentives, including offering free land for construction of dry ports in Naivasha, largely due to China's reluctance to offer funding for the extension of the railway beyond Naivasha.
We have already approved 6.9 billion for the development of the inland container depot, railway marshalling yard, and logistic zones, which are expected to be completed by the end of this year to facilitate the handling of cargo.
The second phase of the standard gauge railway grinds to a sudden halt here in Suswa after the government failed to secure funding for the extension to Malaba. The Ministry of Transport has since indicated that the old meter gauge railway will be upgraded and connected in the meantime as the government chases more funding for the extension to the border. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business, Suswa.